Hey guys, I am Crystal Anse. I am your ARIA A-List Task Force Chair for 2022, and the A-List is so excited to presenting you this regional series. Today we are covering the Midwest, which we are covering two of my favorite areas. We are covering Chicago, Illinois, and we're covering Minneapolis, Minnesota, and we have Liz Goodchild from Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And we have Long Dawn from Real Group from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So we've got lots of fun questions set for both of these amazing panelists today. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. I will definitely get to those at the end, but without further ado, let's get rocking and rolling. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We do need to thank our sponsor. We don't have a Bank of America representative here today, but wanted to take a minute to just thank Bank of America for being a longtime sponsor of the ARIA A-List. They've backed us for so long, and we definitely could not do what we do without them. So on behalf of the ARIA A-List, thank you, Bank of America. We genuinely appreciate your support. So let's start with Liz. Tell me a little bit about your background in real estate and your affiliation with ARIA.
Okay, thank you. And again, thank you for inviting me to be part of the panel. I really feel that this is such a privilege. I am right now the president of ARIA Greater Chicago. Hear me roar. That's our tagline, because of course all Asian are tiger moms. So but as far as ARIA, I've been with ARIA for 8 years, and from the very beginning, twice president. I was president actually back in 2014 as well, and I'm honored to lead Greater Chicago again. As far as background in real estate, I've been a realtor for 32 years, and been with Berkshire Hathaway for the last 4 years, leading a team of 22 agents, the Goodchild team. So used to have my own franchise company, and I sold it to Berkshire about 4 years ago. And no regrets, love what I'm doing, love leading the team, and we're the #1 Berkshire Hathaway team in our franchise, Stark Real Estate, in 2020 and 2021.
I love it. Awesome. Chicago is near and dear to my heart. I've got family there. I mean, we've been there for the Taste of Chicago when they turned the river green for St. Patrick's Day. We've done all of that. So yes, Chicago is definitely a place I love to go visit. And we have Long, I want to hear about your background and your amazing, massive team at Real Group. I'm sorry, Real Group.
Yeah. So I 30th year now in the business. My first 15 years I was on the mortgage side, my last 15 in real estate. I started Realty Group in 2009. And I think that was maybe the first year, if not 2010, when I attended ARIA. At the time, I believe we were co-sponsoring the event with NAREP, maybe even. And I think it was in Vegas. So I didn't realize there was such an organization out there, and being new to the real estate industry really helped me learn a lot and get a lot of support. A few years later, I was the inaugural president of the Twin City chapter here in Minnesota now, and the leadership team is doing a great job growing it. I love being part of ARIA, and yes, we're up to about 700 people on our team now and growing. We are the 5th largest in the whole Minnesota market, so we're very excited, and I'm always proud to be part of ARIA.
5th largest. That's phenomenal. That's super exciting. I love it. So today, obviously, we're covering emerging markets, where your markets are going, how they got there, what that looks like, and how we're accommodating the AAPI community. So Liz, where are you seeing the highest draw of Asians? What does your AAPI demographic look like for your area?
So the geeky number that I put in my head is 63%. Okay, and 63% represents home ownership in the AAPI community in the Chicagoland area. So it's healthy. It is above the Hispanic. I think the Hispanic is just right under 50, but we're not the first, as well. So 63% is in Chicagoland area. So we have a way to go in promoting home ownership in the AAPI community.
Nice. Nice. So long, same question. I know we have kind of a similar subgroup of Hmongs here in Fresno, California. We've got a high population of Hmongs, and I know that they're over there as well. So tell me about your AAPI community. Oh, you're on mute. There we go.
That's correct, Crystal. Our Hmong community here, I think between us and Fresno, it's either number one, number two, or back and forth.
We
We
go
have a
back and
really large
forth.
Hmong community here. Depends on which number you look at, but last I saw was about a little over 300,000 Asian American here in Minnesota, which makes up about 5% of our population. So we got about 5.6 million people here in Minnesota. But St. Paul, because of the Hmong community, almost over 18% of people who live in St. Paul identify themselves as Asian American. And a large part of that is the Hmong community. But the Twin Cities is pretty unique. About 60% of our population in the state of Minnesota lived in the Twin City, which is made up of 7 major metro counties. So when you hear the Twin Cities, not just Minneapolis, St. Paul, but lots and lots of suburbs.
Very cool. So I'm just curious, Liz, how is your area accommodating to the AAPI community? For example, last week we were talking with another area, and they said, "Hey, we just got an H Mart." I didn't even know what H Mart was. It's an Asian grocery store. I'd never even heard of it, but I'm just curious, is that something that's popping up? So, for example, here in Fresno, we have our two Asian markets. So I feel like we're maybe not quite there yet, but I'm curious how the Chicago market is accommodating that community.
We have Seafood City.
Okay.
So, but that is, it's probably just the last, I don't know, maybe even just the last 5 years that Seafood City just came around, and that whole complex with Jollibee and Goldilocks and all that. That's Filipino, right? But yeah, Chicago is a very, very diversified ethnically, and there are pockets of different areas, wherein there are a lot of Vietnamese groceries, Indian groceries. So I think, being in the Midwest, we're still quite diversified, just like New York and LA, not quite, an Asian restaurant or a grocery every other block like LA, right? But I think, we're up there as far as, finding, our favorite restaurants and favorite grocery stores.
Love it. I love it. So Long, what does that look like in Minnesota? Can I get me some good Asian food over there? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Sorry, I'll stop muting myself because I didn't want to accidentally interrupt Liz. But yeah, believe it or not, lots and lots of, like Liz as well, we're actually nicknamed the Minneapolis because Minneapolis and St. Paul is known for a lot of good food restaurants, especially Asian. We have an area called Eat Street. So it's all the restaurants you can think of, and dominated 80% by Asian food, but it's all different type of food. You got the German, Somalia, Ethiopia, Mediterranean, but Asian dominate that Eat Street. As a matter of fact, since 2000, so 20 some years now, Minnesota had experienced 91% growth in the Asian American community. So I know you think of Chicago, Minnesota being a cold state, right? Yes, we do have snowbirds that in the winter will get away for a couple of weeks to break off. Right now I'm looking out my window, snowing, and it's going to be negative here shortly. But it's normal in Minnesota, so people get away to like Florida, Arizona, whatnot. But believe it or not, many of those states, not counting our bordering state of Wisconsin, Iowa, Michigan, North Dakota, South Dakota, but California, Texas, Florida, Colorado are the top 4 states that's moving to Minnesota, and I'll explain why later, because Minnesota is a great place to live.
They are. I know. I keep sending my clients that direction, especially my Hmong clients are all having it. So next time I'll send them. I'll go with them. I'm gonna go to Eat Street. We're gonna get some food there. That sounds great. So I'm curious. We'll start with Liz. What are the industries that are kind of dominating the Chicago market that are bringing buyers or bringing people to your area? I'm curious, what's the draw right now?
The location of Chicago has always been a very perfect location for transferees to go either eat or west. And so before getting into Berkshire, I played a lot in the relocation market, and it's still very, very concentrated as far as, there's still a lot of people coming into Chicago, as far as, because of the location. I mean, we have Chicago O'Hare, which is also a huge um, uh, airport, right? That can bring you to Europe, to the East Coast, to the West Coast. So there's a lot of companies that are still headquartered in Chicago, and we have, of course, the big companies like, Amazon is here, and also like big parts of Google, and all the big pharmaceutical companies as well in like the North Shore side are also around. So just because of our location, we're still attracting big Fortune 500 companies to locate people and employees into our area.
I love it. Yeah, I think Long, you guys got some good Fortune 500 companies as well. So talk to me about those businesses and what they're doing to your industry or your area, and what's the draw?
Yeah, well, you're right. 18 Fortune 500 companies here. Number one largest here is United Health, of course, the fifth largest Fortune 500 overall, right? We got Target, Best Buy, 3M, US Bank, General Mills. But besides the fact that, the land of 10,000 lakes, which technically we have almost nearly 12,000 lakes. Matter of fact, when you look at shoreline, not coastline because we don't have ocean, but shoreline here in Minnesota, because of our lakes, we have more shoreline than California, Florida, and Hawaii combined. Most people don't know that. But because of that, a lot of people, especially Chicago, like to come up to Minnesota for our lakes, their second home. But the cost of living is very affordable still, because our average price point is still only about $350,000. So when I mentioned earlier, California, Florida, Texas, Colorado, people move here, they sell their home, they come here, they live almost in a mansion, especially get transferred here to one of those Fortune 500 company. So they love it here. But our industry is mostly health and tech here.
Interesting.
Is that why you're tan in February, because you have a lot of, beach and all that? Like,
that's right. All the shoreline. Yeah, full transparency. I have a place in Arizona, so I run there quite a bit, which lead to, like Chicago, MSP Airport fly just about anywhere nonstop. So I can go to Arizona in 2.5 hours for around $100. And I have a condo there. I go back and forth with my backpack. I got my car, my clothes and my golf club down there. So I go Wednesday to Saturday, almost every other week in the winter, just to get away. That's where I get my tan from.
That's awesome. So Long, you mentioned kind of your median price. I'm curious, what does a median or average size home, what does that look like in your area?
Well, typical that 350,000 will get you a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom, 2,000 square foot home, in the suburb. So, but when you call luxury in your guys' market, for us, 750 or over considered luxury. Those are really nice home, maybe on a nice lake, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom with a couple acres. So it's still great here.
That's crazy. While we're over here cramming houses onto 3,000 square foot lots, like itty bitty, when we go straight up. Yeah. Okay. So Liz, what does a median or average home look like in your area? What is that like?
So I'm nervous. I'm envious here because he said 350, and that's Minneapolis, whereas Chicago is only 310. So, and I would think we would be higher than yours, right? But 310,000. And as far as, I just got my luxury designation through the Institute of Luxury, and they define luxury in Chicago as 525,000 and above. And you're saying yours is 750? So must be the 10,000 lakes. So
I love it.
yeah. So 300,000 is where we're at.
Very cool. Very cool. So I know our industry kind of got rocked by Airbnb and Vrbo. So I'm curious, I know it's had a huge impact on my market. I'm curious how that has played a role in your market? Are we seeing investors? Is that even a thing in your area? What's more popular? Airbnb, VRBO? What does that look like in your market? So we'll start with Liz. What does that look like for your area?
So funny that you asked this question, because we're just about to find out on March 10th, because we're having a huge Airbnb short-term, long-term workshop in Chicago that ARIA Chicago is hosting. And just by the registration right now, it looks like it's going to be very popular. It's going to probably be over 100 people attending this this workshop, because everybody seems to be really wanting to understand what it's all about. Okay, my pulse on it is that we're just not educated yet, you know, and that's kind of one of the reasons why we're doing the workshop, because there's a lot of zoning issues and limitations that we have to kind of understand with different cities and different, you know, city of Chicago that, you know, may or may not allow short-term rentals, right? So so March 10th, we're having it in one of the suburbs here in Chicago, and we're flying in one of our ARIA experts, specialist Evan Young, into Chicago to kind of educate us on, what are who lends out and what are the zoning, issues about short-term investments, things like that.
Very cool. Long, I'm curious about your area and how Airbnb has made its way in, or VRBO, or what does it look like over there?
Yeah, so you would think that the warmer destination like California, Florida, right, and Texas Arizona would get a lot. But yes, Minnesota, like Chicago as well. I already mentioned, it's like the Minneapolis here. So a lot of people like to come to stay in Minneapolis and St. Paul, just because, of course, we got all the theaters here, the shows, the art, the food, the restaurant, but Mall of America, right? The Mall of America has an amusement park inside, mini golf, theaters, restaurant, bar, and 500 stores. Matter of fact, they've done some stat that you only spend less than 10 minutes for each store. It will take you 86 hours to see all the stores in the Mall of America, which is indoor. So even in the winter, people would come here. But I think the reason with a lot of our lakes as well, so the lake home where people would want to come and get away, so VRBO and Airbnb is very popular. Also, unlike a lot of other states, we have so far anyway, as of now, very little restrictions on those short-term rentals, right? Like I'm in Arizona where my association is sometimes 30 to 60 minimum, rental time. So it's harder for VRBO Airbnb to do weekly or even a couple weeks or days. So that's why Minnesota is very popular for investment, not just long-term rental, but also short-term rentals.
Interesting. Okay. Invest in Airbnbs over there. Got it. Okay. That sounds good. So Liz, what type of buyers? I mean, I know everyone's inventory is low right now, right? Like we get that, but what type of buyers are you seeing on the market, in the market right now? Where are they coming from? And what does your buyer profile look like?
So, I'm looking at all like the difference between 2020 and 2021, right? And as far as, what are the segments of the market that are actually, really good? Well, if you look at the total detached single family housing as far as new listings, it's actually very stable. Like it's about 140,000 listings that came in 2020, same as 2021. But if you look through like the different like segments of, the tiers, under $300,000, there's nothing. Okay, so now there's an increase with anything over 500,000. So what is this telling me? This is telling me that the increase in listings for anything over 500,000 represents people that may be getting out of Chicago or downsizing. So as far as listings and sellers, we're looking at people that are actually putting their houses in the market over $500,000. But as far as buyers, there's a lot of buyers under $300,000. And these are more, first-time home buyers using FHA or VA as far as a programming, as far as loan programs.
Interesting. Very interesting. So it sounds like, yeah, your market, your inventory value wise is definitely going up. Long, what does it look like in your area? Where are our price points, and what does that look like, the buyer pool?
Yeah, well, because we're still very affordable, right? I know Liz at the Chicago area because I know my brother lived in Chicago. Certain market in Chicago is very expensive than the rest of, so that's why it averages out. Same with the Twin Cities. You live on a nice big lake. We have one here called Minnetonka. Those are like 750,000 or higher. That's where a lot of the executive who move in for Fortune 500 company go live on, because they can get one of those really nice home cheaper than where they came from. But typically we have the first time home buyers still, and 30-some% of the buyer because of the interest rate and whatnot. But also Minnesota, believe it or not, our baby boomers are starting to get to the point when they're also about 30-some% of the buyers because they're downsizing, right? So we have even a tougher problem with our inventory because both of those buyer pools are fighting for almost the same home, right? The size of the home that they're trying to downsize to, the first-time home buyer and then the baby boomer, except the baby boomer preferring the one-level living. So it's been tough at that price point. So I'm sure we all went through it, but especially that price point for us here in Minnesota.
So Long, I'm just curious then, is your higher end market sitting on the market, your higher dollar priced homes, are they sitting on the market longer now, or what is that?
I would not say so, just less poor buyers to compete from. So you're in the price range of 350 or lower, you're gonna have like probably sometime 15, 20, 30 offers, right? Where the other price range, it's just less smaller pool of buyers. But again, depends on where you lived before, and interest rates so low, the buying power. I mean, I was doing some math, I think it was like 300 at our price point, 1% interest rate would equate to almost 11% more in buying power when it's 1% less.
Absolutely.
But we know the rate's been low, so that's why instead of buying 300,000, they can buy 350 for the same payment that they used to because of the interest rate.
Yep, those interest rates definitely are going to make a big impact on our market. Yeah, we're seeing those start to creep up for sure. So Liz, what are the big opportunities for buyers, investors looking to head to your area? Let's say I'm a buyer or an investor. What are you showing me? Where are we going?
So I'm getting a lot of phone calls from people in the West Coast, thinking that 300,000 in the Chicago market is really, really cheap. So from somebody from the East Coast or the West Coast. So I am hearing investors wanting to invest sight unseen, as long as the numbers work here in Chicago. I think you're experiencing the same thing, right, Long? So because
Yes.
it would be considered cheap, right?
Yep, same here, Liz. I agree. The Twin Cities, like I said, the price point still very affordable, lake home, but especially for investors. Some of the market like California, to buy an investment property might be 800,000 to 1.5 million. With that same dollar amount, you can buy 2 or 3 of them here. So, and your return of investment looks really good, short-term and long-term rentals. Also, because of our education here, one of the top in the country for education. So a lot of people are moving here to raise a family. We always joke that everyone move out of Minnesota, they all come back. It's like the younger generation would move out to experience, they don't want to raise a family, they come back to Minnesota because of our education and our economy and the affordability. One thing worth mentioning, we're very women friendly here. According to the Institute of Women, Minnesota enjoyed the lowest, heart diseases, mental health. Maybe just nice and relaxed and slow here. That could be help with the mental health. Maybe education's good, so you're not stressed out about your kids. But 60% of all of women voted here in Minnesota, and 30% of all the legislators here are women. So specifically, I have 3 agents who are either senator or House representative that also does real estate. That's here with me at Realty Group.
Wow, it's all that shoreline. You just lay out and relax. So Long, circling back to the investors, are they investing in condos, apartment, what are they investing? Single family, residential, freestanding? What does that look like for your investor?
Yeah, everything in between, right? The lake home, obviously for short-term rental, even long-term rental, but the condos, we are starting to see a rise, catching up to Chicago and New York and Los Angeles, but a lot of apartment complexes also being converted to condos. We did have a quick little slowdown because of COVID when people couldn't go outside. So there's small migration out of the condo and walkability that we have in downtown St. Paul, Minneapolis, but people are starting to get back into it. That was just a little hiccup. But yeah, condos, great. We have great view because it's called the Twin City because Minneapolis and St. Paul is separated by the Mississippi River. So most of the condo in the two city look over the river. You know, my business partner, no kid, 42nd floor of a condo, great view. You know, I'm still out and live in the suburb. I got kids, so I got my 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom, 1-acre home for, you know, $600,000. It's crazy, you know. So very affordable here. A lot of investors are coming here just because of that.
Wow, very affordable. So I like how you touched on how your market was affected by COVID. Liz, I'm curious, how was your market affected by COVID? Are we seeing it like Long is seeing starting to bounce back in regards to the shifts that were happening, or what ended up happening with your market?
So, unfortunately, you guys have seen Chicago in the news a lot, right? As far as maybe crime or like unsettling news about, how the city of Chicago may be unsafe and things like that. So there is a migration from the condo dwellings to the suburbs, not just, especially during the pandemic, not just because of the crime, but it's also because of just wanting a bigger space. So there's actually a 28% increase in sold properties in the condo in like a single family attached. And most of that are in the Chicago, like 606, what I call 606 area code. And that I think is representing a lot of the condo dwellers that are looking out to the burbs, wanting more space, wanting more, probably one, piece. And then also a lot of like, well, you can buy for a condo in the city, you can, for maybe like $400,000, you can 2-bedroom condo in the city for $400,000, you can buy a 5-bedroom house in the suburbs.
Wow. That's fascinating. That's fascinating. So, Long, I did a little bit of research on you. So I'm curious, we didn't even talk about this and I didn't even prep this question, but I'm curious, where do you see our foreclosure and distressed market going?
Yeah, when I started in 2009, migrating from mortgage side to a real estate side, I went right into foreclosure. I closed 1,000 transactions my first 4 years in the industry. So I believe it's different then, and it will be this time around. This time I think it'll be an adjustment. The reason being that is back then it was bad money. This time is cheap money. Also back then, you were doing investment property, second home probably at 100%, right? No money down. So when the value so inflated, when it went down, people were upside down. Right now, the average equity people have in America is 11 to 12%, and it's also cheap money. So I think you'll see an adjustment in price, not appreciating so fast. And there will be some foreclosure. There's always this foreclosure, but I don't think it's going to be anything like back in the 08, 09 that I believe in. Also, banks learned from last time, the PR wasn't very good. And with COVID now, no one want to feel like they're kicking people out because of COVID. So you're going to see a lot of hedge fund company will buy up these foreclosure in bulk. The NPL, we call it non-performing loans. So they'll buy those up and they'll either hold them to rent or fix them and flip them later. So you're not going to see the same thing as you did last time. Interesting.
Liz, are you seeing something similar in your market?
So just like Long, I also played a little bit in the foreclosure market back in the day, HUDs and Freddie Mac. And at that time, distressed properties were literally 40% of the market, 40%. Today, it's not even 2%. It's 1.8%. Okay. So that goes to tell you, 1.8, 1.9 to 40%, that's a long, way to go. I don't think it's going to go to that point, just because like what Long said, people are much smarter. And as far as, when you were talking about trends, that's exactly what I was seeing, Long. It's like institutional corporations buying these distressed properties in bulk and turning them around as actually rentals. And the rental market in Chicago is very, very expensive. That's why it's a good investment as well. So
interesting. Very interesting. So I'm going to have both of you pull out your magic crystal balls and see if you can tell me, where do you think where do you see your market going? If we had to guess this upcoming year and years down the line, where do you see your specific market going? Liz, I'll start with you.
Okay, so I'm afraid to answer this question because I was wrong about the 4% interest rate. I really
We
thought
won't hold you to it. We won't hold you to it.
I really thought that we wouldn't see the 4% till 2023, and it's here now, right? So that's scary. That's really scary. But my personal opinion is that 2022 will look just like 2021, even though the interest rates are a tad higher. You know, it's still affordable. I started real estate when my first condo I purchased, it was 10.5% interest rate. So, you know, so being in the business for 32 years, I mean, it's like, what's 4%, you know? So I think it will still be the same. So it's good for us, you know, and we're going to be like, 2020 was my record year. 2021 was my record year. And I think 2022 now is going to be my new record year. So I think everything will be fine.
Awesome. Yeah. My dad's claim to fame, he was a real estate broker prior to me. So he did this for 43 years and he told everyone, I never want to hear a single person complain about interest rates. He told everyone he put his own brother into a house at almost 16%. So he was like, I don't want to hear anyone complain about these 2, 3, 4% interest rates. You know, even when we were flirting 5s back in the day, he was like, I don't want to hear it. I put my brother into a house at 15%. So don't complain to me about it. But yeah, so Long, tell me about what you think. Where's your thing?
I agree with everything Liz said. I would add on top of that, when you do a comparison, no matter interest rate, right now it's so low, right? It's going to be at least 6, 7, 8% before you have to worry about it. But you run a comparable between rent and own, you'll always come out ahead and own. So if you can afford it, try to find a way. There's lots of program out there that will help you with the state, county, and city with the down payment assistance to get into the home. But I would add is that the trend is leading and lagging indicator, right? So people are going to buy and sell home no matter what, just like they have been for years. However, that's going to change how they do it. So you're going to see more iBuyer going to pop up a little bit more. You're going to see crypto and NFT is going to start getting some traction. You know, I'm shortly here's going to be the first NFT certified real estate agent here in Minnesota, and I want to bring it to my agents here so that we can stay ahead of the curve. I think investments and new construction is going to be a next bigger market than we think, just because of the inventory. So as a real estate agent, maybe start working with builders and investors so that you can diversify your market. So that's what I'm seeing.
Interesting. I love it. That is great. So obviously this whole series is being put on by the A-List, and both of you are our A-List recipients. Liz, I know you've been on the A-List for about 2 years, and Long, I think you've been on it for as long as the A-List has been around. So kind of as my closing final question for both of you, I'm curious, what's your experience been with A-List? And because right after you answer this question, I'm gonna start plugging how everyone can apply for the A-List. I'm curious, what's your experience been with the A-List, and you know, why should we tell everyone to apply? And Liz, I'll start with you.
So my biggest mistake in being in ARIA is not applying into the A-List program sooner. I've been in ARIA for 8 years and I kept on being behind with my applications. So I've only been in ARIA A-List just because I didn't put my application in on time for the last 2 years. And I tell you, that's my biggest regret, because I find the all the benefits of being an A-List is so much advertising branding that has benefited me, you know, in more ways than I can even like count, you know. So it's truly branding and it's truly recognition is one of the benefits, and just being with the camaraderie and relationships with all the A-listers in the whole country with ARIA is also very, very beneficial.
I love it. Long, as a long time A-lister, what are some of the benefits that you've seen or received from being on the A-List?
Yeah, I echo what Liz says. You know, I love the competition, but I love the networking and being part, right? Eagles hang out with Eagles, right? So when you're in that, you get to network with people, the opportunity for referrals, because remember, in the people business, people work with people they like and trust. So if you're not part of something, they don't know you, how can they like you and trust you? Because of that, I highly encourage that people know and understand that credibility, visibility is credibility. So the more visible you are, the more credible you become. How more visible can you be being the A-list, right? I started years ago, as soon as I found out about it as a single agent, and it went to the team category. And I met so many people at events. I think there's even a group now I'm still part of, the A-list group, Facebook group. You know, we interact, we share ideas, we refer, network together. So highly encourage it. Plus, it's good to be recognized with your peers so that you have some competition you can hope to do better next year. I always look at the list and go, you know, what I got to do to stay ahead or catch up to somebody, because it's always good, fun competition.
Absolutely. I agree. And yes, so if anyone who's listening has been on the A-list, make sure to friend request us on Facebook. We do have an ARIA A-list page, and I agree. We are always sharing ideas, but I've shot out a lot of referrals through that group. Hey, I've got someone moving over here. I want to send my business to an A-lister. And yeah, and then plus the networking at the national events, we always have our A-list luncheon, and just being able to share a room with amazing top, you know, people who are producing and how they're doing it at that level is always a fun conversation to have. So we genuinely want to thank you guys for being our speakers today. And I'm going to plug how to be on the A-list now, because our application is live and open. So this year, we've definitely made a bunch of changes. We've partnered up with Real Trends. So Real Trends is the one that puts together the 1,000 America's Best Real Estate Professionals. And now they're going to put together our ARIA A-list. So we have it broken down into different categories. And the first one is if you as an individual agent have done 50 sides to 20 million in sales for the year 2021, or 75 sides or 30 million as a team for 2021, we want you to apply now. There are some franchised companies that we already have your data. So if you are part of Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Better Homes and Gardens, Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Compass, Douglas Engelman, England Volker, ERA, Exit Realty, Intero, Keller Williams, Next Home, Realogy, Broker Services, Remax, Sotheby's Internationals, Realty Executives, or Lending RE. If you're part of any of those national franchises, we've already got your data. So you don't have to do a single thing. Everything is already in the system, and we've got it. We'll cross-reference it to make sure that you are an active ARIA member, but we've got everything we need. If you are not part of one of those franchisees and you've met those minimum requirements, 50 sides, 20 million in sales for an individual agent, 75 sides or 30 million in sales for teams, hop online. I think Nationals just posted the link. Make sure you hop on and go through the Real Trends system to input all of your data. We are collecting it from now until March 31st. And if you meet that criteria, you also not only have the ability to be on A-list, you have the ability to be part of the 1,000 and America's Best Real Estate Professionals. There is a $175 application fee that Real Trends is collecting. It is not collected by ARIA. Real Trends requires that to scrub all the data to make sure that these numbers and the stats that are being presented are as accurate as humanly possible. So they know what they're doing over there in regards to scrubbing data. So we're going to let them take over that aspect of it. And if you just happen to fall just shy of that requirement, starting June 15th through the July 15th, we will open up a second tier of applications. So you still have the ability to make the A-list, and we still want this list to be recognizable to all of our ARIA A-list family. So if you're somewhere between 25 and 49 sides, or somewhere between 10 and under 20 million, for 2021, we want to make sure that you apply during the June 15th to July 15th time period. There's a $75 registration fee for that, unless you're part of any of those franchisees. And the same thing for teams. 40 sales to 74 sales for our teams, or 15 to under 30 million. For our teams, if you're within that category, definitely apply during our June 15th to July 15th timeframe. And we're going to compile an amazing list. The goal this year is to really focus on each one of our regions, right? So I know that the ARIA A-list in the past has been predominantly certain states that have higher sales volume. And so we're going to take this list this year and really break it down and really exemplify each one of our regions to show where our top producers are, or where the agents are that are producing at high levels in each one of the regions. And in order to do that, we need everyone to apply. So our goal is, and I've said it at every president's call, I want at least one producer and I want one originator to apply from every single chapter. So if you're a president on the call, please make sure to push this out to all of your membership. But really, if you know someone who's doing big business, encourage them to apply. The more numbers we have, the better our stats are, the better our data is, and the stronger our list is. So make sure that you apply for that. And I promise we haven't forgotten our originators. I mentioned it really briefly, but the application process for our originators is exactly the same. You'll submit your data directly to ARIA. Applications are open on that right now. So make sure that if you're an originator, get your data into ARIA Nationals. They're already collecting and compiling all of that information, again, to make our ARIA A-list as strong as possible. And with that being said, next week, we are covering the Northeast. So in our four webinar series, next week, we're heading over to the Northeast. So we've got Bonnie Lai covering the Boston area, Danny Lung from DC, and the New York City and Northern New Jersey area is going to be Smitha Ramchandani. Ooh, I'm going to have to ask her name, Ramchandani, but we're excited to talk to them to see where their market is going, just like Liz and Long did today. I think both of you guys did an amazing job giving us a snapshot of what your market looks like. Long, I'm going to go visit to go try that food, because that sounds amazing. And Liz, I'm always in your area, so next time I'll definitely swing by and say hi. But thank you again for being on the call. Thank you, Bank of America, for your continued sponsorship. And again, if you guys have any questions for our panelists, I didn't see any come through, but if you have any questions, please feel free to direct message us, and I'll make sure to have our speakers reach out to you to get some answers. And thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye, you guys.